So but nowadays we know that even continuous supervision and control, which can bring emotional impact in people's lives, is also bring to that context of domestic abuse. As for the link, relationship, or synergy between domestic abuse and development of mental health, I mean, there's a lot of raft of literature and research and practice issues that can establish that interwoven relationship between domestic abuse or domestic violence and development of mental health problems. Um, there are issues with trauma that comes with domestic abuse. So, for example, when somebody is being domestically abused consistently, it affects their self-esteem. It damages their identity and self-esteem, which then links to like depression, anxiety. They're extremely anxious, which leads to a twist in their personality also. So a lot of people who experience personality disorder, for example, which is a form of mental problem, may have experienced domestic abuse as a child or as children, seeing parents arguing, seeing dad or mom eating one another. All those things, memories do not go away, they stay in a child's life. That's what they call ACE, advanced childhood experience. So people who are likely to develop mental problems, many of them have experienced that. One of the key indicators is people who have experienced domestic abuse as children. As for partners, somebody who has been, physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, sexually abused, it leads to a raft of mental health problems also. So there's also what is called stress vulnerability model, which is one of the main causes of mental health. Everyone, one way or the other, has a bit of psychosis in them. It could be 1%, it could be 0.5%. That's why you say, especially when you're angry, you are mentally well at that point in time. Some of the rational decisions taken, everybody has some rational decisions they take and stuff like that. But there are some people are more susceptible to that and fraught with that. So somebody may live a normal life and then stress and trauma when they are faced with that. So somebody who is living well, who is okay, sanity okay, then got married, then begin to have toxic relationship, either physically being abused or being emotionally traumatized. Stress, vulnerability, that stress, that trauma brings the vulnerability in them, you know, that
So it
leads to
is
mental
possible,
problems.
sorry to interrupt you, it is possible not to have experienced all these before that individual actually stepped into the relationship. It
Yeah,
could be as a result
people
of the
may live their
relationship,
normal lives. People
their
may live
normal
their
lives.
normal life. Yeah.
Hmm.
One of the major causes of mental problems or major solution also is relationships. So a positive relationships, will stabilize somebody's mental health, even if they had mental health problem before, or a mild depression or anxiety before. A positive relationship, the concept of love and affection, this with the brain, isn't it? The
Yeah,
brain,
absolutely.
it releases serotonin or dopamine, like a
Mm.
chemical thing releases to the brain when you
Yeah.
love and have affection to somebody. So which helps their mental health really. It's a recovery process, good relationship. So also a negative relationship can
Mm.
trigger stressors that could make worse people's mental health, which were not showing before.
Wow. It could trigger
I've worked
what
with
was
somebody who I wouldn't say this was domestic abuse, stress of life, who lived normal life, came
live.
come came to this country from where many of us come from, Nigeria,
Yeah.
had degrees, worked well, came here, no jobs. Somebody was a banker or somebody in Nigeria, well to do, no job.
Well placed back in Africa.
Yeah, in Africa, discrimination, everywhere, his accent, everything. That stress from nowhere triggered mental health problems
Mm.
in their lives. So the same thing for in a home situation. Home should be a safe haven, a refuge. But when it is toxic, it triggers all manner of problems in
Mm.
mental health.
Okay, okay. So if it's it could cause all manner of problems of mental health that can spill into bring about some damaging consequences when we talk of relationships. So when these things happen in intimate relationships, and there are definitely some consequences or effects, that this can bring about, among which is the depression that you just mentioned. I think trauma is another consequence, and possibly things like self harm. If you just take us through one of these uh, consequences, so to say, um, the depression, what is depression, what is trauma, what is. Could someone be going through any of these things, and you yourself don't even understand that this is what you're experiencing?
The problem with mental health, and that's where the stigma is there, isn't it? Is you may not even know. People may seem normal. You've seen cases of people you saw in church yesterday doing well, and but they are going through a lot of anxiety and depression, and you just heard that they've committed suicide. They were
Wow.
okay, they were laughing, smiling. It's
Wow.
not like if you have cancer, the excruciating
Mm.
pain, people will know you have it. If you have ulcer, people will know you have it. If you have, if your wound in physical health, people will see it.
Mm.
You know, whereas with mental problems, except it gets to acute stage,
Stage.
yeah, that people see somebody stripping, somebody, attacking
Violence.
others, violent, yeah. But there are many people going through it. I think there is a study that say that at least about 25% of women in the UK have gone through depression at one time
One
or the other in
stage.
their life. Yeah, in their life. So it's a lot. Of course, women, because women open up more. Men will just bottle it up and go
Bottom
and commit
stuff.
suicide. Men will just end it all. But women will go to the GP and report it more. So what is depression? Because to understand the consequences of it, we need to know what is depression. Depression is like low mood. Somebody who is normally happy before, from you just realize that
Go each
they're
person.
becoming quiet, you know, and this is lasting not just one off, lasting for weeks and months. They're
Mm.
not leaving their house. They're not attending to their hygiene, personal hygiene. They're not happy interacting with people, low mood, sadness, feeling unhappy, feeling hopeless, and they have low self-esteem of themselves. They are not good enough. They are not. Somebody who is normally happy and proud of themselves for suddenly blaming themselves for everything, finding no pleasure, in what they usually enjoy. If then a
They're no longer
partner doesn't
self-motivated.
to
They
do
just.
things,
Mm.
they're not excited. There's no enthusiasm to do
Understand.
things, and you don't have if you have an insensitive partner who comes in wanting to have sex, for example, not
Mm.
knowing what his wife or husband is going
It's
through,
going through mentally.
that could even then link to domestic violence, isn't it?
Mm.
Because the person you then force your way through, that's rape anyway, you know, and you don't know the pain because it has to be joyfully, or you just shout out at the person, "Why are you behaving like this? Why are you?" You need to actually. The Bible says, "I'm a Christian, and I
Yes. You're
introduce
free to
Christianity
quote
to
scriptures.
everything
Yes.
I do." That you deal with women with knowledge.
Mm.
Not just women, your partner with knowledge and understanding. Find out this person was not like this before. Why is it that they are this now? Google is your friend. A lot of research, a lot of things you can find out about depression, or you may not even mention depression. Just say somebody behaving this way. What does it mean? It will bring a raft of information that you can study and
Sorry,
check.
sorry to cut in. So, as a caring partner, you have that sense of responsibility, not to make any assumption, but to actually dig into and cross check, why should my partner be behaving the way he or she is behaving?
Of
Because
course,
it
and
is as you
go on.
begin to do that research work, you also get informed and
Mm,
you begin to toe the line of understanding,
mm,
not just being violent, not just being rash or brash,
mm,
you
mm.
know.
Or abrasive in your behavior and conduct, or condemning them because you're making things worse.
Mm,
You know, because if you have knowledge, you yourself will empathize with them. You then come with love and affection. I mentioned it's a two-way thing. That
okay.
relationship can make somebody's mental health better or make it worse, or
Mm.
sustain it if there was no mental problems before.
So that
So
leads
by
me to the next question. I would like to continue in a minute. So, as the partner, because these are the practical tips that our listeners back at home may be lacking. This may be the missing link.
mm,
So, as that other partner who seem to be normal in quote begins to delve into knowledge, research, understanding. Why is this my partner behaving this way? And they begin to understand and they begin to toe the line of understanding.
mm,
It could, in a sense, be suggesting a form of therapy. It's a therapeutic move towards their partner, isn't it?
yeah,
And it would make them to begin to behave, to uh, realign their behavior into a normal path, if I can use that word.
yeah, to see at least to I mean, relationship sustains based on care. So the fact that you are taking time to research, to find out, say, wow, this is why my partner has been behaving this way. Oh, I'm
Shows that you
sorry.
care.
I need to change the way my approach. And it shows love. It shows compassion. So it's not just a therapy for the person. It also shows, it strengthens the love, isn't it? Because the other person you are changing, instead of being abrasive and rash and condemning or controlling, you sat down, you say, okay, this is why it is, and this is a solution to this. You come back, you bought a gift, or you come back, instead of them doing all the household chores, you do it for them. So, and I feel you need to rest a bit. Maybe you're going through a lot, maybe there's a lot of stresses or stressors affecting you. That person begins to see you as caring, especially women. Women like that. Women operate based on care and affection. They give care to their primary caregivers in the home situation. Some men do too, but men are inundated with a lot of strategic, thoughts of money, achievement, mortgages, a lot of things. But women, they care. So when you care for your partner, it strengthens the love, and there's peace in that home. And children see that.
Mm.
uh, because see, we need to be very careful. If children don't see love at home, they find love outside in a wrong way. So many in my, I mean, I'm apart from being a mental and social worker, I'm also a pastor. I pastor a church, and I do a
So,
lot of
so
counseling.
you're a leader. You're a leader of your own community, and you come
Yeah,
across a lot of people and
yeah,
cases as well.
yeah. And not just as a church and spiritual sense, also a charity where a
Even a
lot of
charity
people coming, a lot of
community.
relationship, a lot of home. Many of the people, young people that fell into mistakes of unplanned pregnancies.
Mm.
It was a home situation. They didn't find love at home, and some wicked guys exploited that
Exploited the
to.
situation.
So
Mm.
relationships is key to strengthen mental health, and understanding knowledge is key. That's about depression, a state of low mood, a state of unhappiness, sadness, being melancholic in views, and which includes hopelessness, not thinking of the future, not leaving the house, not attending to your health, not your hygiene, that bathing, living home, being happy, no pleasure, including sex,
Mm.
and the other partner is not happy with that. Um, but there's treatment. That's what I'm saying. That go to the GP. There are a lot of therapists, cognitive behavior therapy, CBT. The first line of treatment is actually therapy. So then the NHS and government have IAPT, they call it improving access to psychological therapy, because some of them can go with, like I said, the right attitude to show somebody loves, somebody cares, somebody is there for them. And as a partner, that was what you promised when you are chasing after the person anyway, or the
Absolutely.
person was chasing after you, that you be there for them. Even in marriage, in churches, we say for better, for worse.
Better for us.
So the worst time when things are not okay, you
Hmm.
should be there to to be knit
To hold
together
their
with
hand.
them and they're
Yeah.
happy. Then quickly going through traumatic event, because all those
Yeah.
things are interwoven also. When you're talking about trauma, a trauma could be when somebody experienced very stressful, frightening, or distressing events that are difficult to cope with or got out of control. Maybe ghastly motor accident, or fire in the house, or uh, a child being sexually abused, or witnessing that, you know,
Hmm.
or extreme physical attack, all those things. The brain of a child I keep talking to child because we need to catch people young, isn't it? And
Yeah.
we go to people who have been damaged from they were very young. That AC, what they've seen or what they saw and what they experienced and impacted. Trauma, wars, uh, um, I'm originally from Nigeria. Many of
Hmm.
the things we experienced as children was quite traumatic. That has its own advantage in terms of making us to be quite resilient.
Hmm.
But it has a lot of bad issues that cost on people, you know, and they will hide it, isn't it? And people don't. So those things don't go away because a child's brain is what they call tabula rasa, the blank
Hmm.
slate. It's what you put there, it stays there.
Stays there.
So they don't that those things don't go away. What children went through when they were children, they don't go away. That's why you need to be children need love. When they are doing assessment for mental, they'll find out, oh, did you enjoy school? A child that faced bullying in school will likely grow up, either be a bully themselves and also be damaged if care is not taken.
Hmm.
And a child can face bully when from home things are not right. They didn't sleep well, they are sleeping in school. They didn't, mom was depressed, didn't the child looks dirty, or the child didn't go on holidays, didn't have what others have. So all those things could bring childhood trauma. It could be one incident or ongoing event that happens over a long period of time. Most of us will have experienced an event in our lives that could be considered traumatic. So trauma is key. And there are a lot of support, trauma informed practice, a lot of things to address that. Most people in my area of work, especially personality, they call it personality disorder. They call them manipulative and other things, but they may have experienced that divorce is a major traumatic event for children. It's one
Hmm.
of those adverse childhood experiences. So trauma is key, and there is a clear link, relationship, or asymmetric, synergy between trauma and especially psychological development of mental problems.
Hmm.
Many people that I know with personality disorder may have experienced sexual abuse when they were younger. Many people that have been repeatedly, especially children here, and I'm not trying to say they're softer than where we come from because they've not been
Hmm.
used to the
Hmm.
trauma. Where I
Yeah.
come from, my mom smacked me a lot, or even killed me a lot. She was a school mistress before she passed away. She lived long. Not that I enjoyed it, but I appreciated it. But if you do that here, a child has not been used to that. It could have impact on them when they grow up. But all those things develop eventually. So trauma is one of the main issue, and domestic violence comes with trauma, isn't it?
It does.
When you are repeatedly controlled, manipulated, coerced into doing things, or to doing things against your values,
Hmm.
it affects your self-esteem, affects your self-identity, and you begin to think and think and think over it. Or somebody who has experienced war, you know, some
Hmm.
of the soldiers that went into war front, they had to survive one way or the other. You know, PTSD, post traumatic
Toxic
uh,
stress. So,
syndrome that they experience, disorder, that they begin to come back again, again, and again. I worked with somebody who said they grew up seeing the mom had bipolar affective disorder. They seen all, and because bedside field, I work at the top end where you assess people and section them to the hospital. It's a
mm,
very drastic, very unkind. And I experienced myself the double trauma. I'll be thinking, what did I do? What is my means of livelihood? But you'll be thinking, I mean, going to somebody's house with two doctors, and they may have planned things for the future. You are deciding they need to be in hospital by force. Even if somebody committed criminal offense, they go to court, they have a lawyer who will defend them. You have
so
so much power that only you are the court, you are the judge. You can say you need to be in hospital. Doctors agree. Three people who are not, and there's no lawyer, and the person has to go. And you get ambulance. And that's why you begin to see neighbors who are not cutting grass before in the midst of the summer. They then be bringing more out as if they want to more. They want to know what's happening. The impact on that person. What of when they go to hospital and the police sometimes, neighbors, they know, that person is this. No, they're always going to. The impact of that. A child was telling me that they would now, because a worker goes through a lot of anxiety themselves. A professional now, but say they grew up seeing their mom, neighbors know the ambulance will come, take the mom to hospital
mm,
on a constant basis. That had impact on them. That person was even strong to be able to live a meaningful life. Not optimally, because when we're having meetings, they may not they will want this meeting to be in uh, audio alone, not visual meeting, because they just want their voice, not their face, to be seen, based on childhood experience and other things. So that's about trauma, and that also links to self harm, because you mentioned depression, trauma, and self harm. Self harm is more like, uh, as the name connotes, self harm. You know,
harm.
uh, a
Sure.
change, so a change emotional pain into physical pain. You are
Mm,
thinking of trauma. Trauma is the emotional pain. Then it translates, it migrates to physical pain. So you see children cutting themselves. In doing that, they're enjoying, they are releasing that trauma. You know, that's common to the West. Children grow up in the West, in Africa, where I come from. I don't see children cutting themselves. And so they cut themselves deep to the extent of almost losing their lives, to the veins in the body, that blood gushes out. Or they take the overdose, or they take, uh, they have suicidal ideation, other things to themselves. So
mm,
it reduces overwhelming emotional feelings or thoughts. They have a sense of being in control. You know,
mm.
so where they remember those trauma by cutting themselves, and that's why it's a personality disorder, because people then call it, they then manipulate people, hmm, so that they create problems, concern. Somebody who is, manifesting self-harm, knocks professionals' heads against one another. So the CPS, community psychiatric nurse, will be saying, "Oh, this is social care. No, you need to look for a home or where they support it." And the person will say, "No, this person can function very well. Just
Mm.
one or cutting themselves doesn't mean." And the call police. Police say, "No, this is a care matter, not police, no criminal matter." A paramedic will say, "No, they're not having physical health problems." So everybody will be knocking their heads. And if you want to go to, if they eventually die, because there have been cases where people died, you go to coroner's court. And it's a terrible place to be sometimes.
So he's
Where
ultimately held responsible in such a situation.
the professionals involved, in terms of
All
self.
all the services, whosoever it
Yeah,
is.
so people who have had contact with a person, and I've had,
Okay.
especially the last few weeks or months, I've had cases. I don't know whether it's something I can say
Including the
online,
GPs.
uh, including the GP, including the, if they had contact. So the way it works is that if somebody had a mental issue, the GP, and they are then referred to the community mental health teams, and the psychiatrists are involved. The GP are in the background. So it's the psychiatrist that will go to coroner's court, if or whoever that's having regular contact. You have to defend your practice, and You have very, 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 how do I say, ruthless baristas that
Absolutely.
that will turn you to shreds if you are not. If you have to defend your practice, you have to defend why you didn't save this life and other
Mm,
things. And those are some of the things that depression leading to self-harm. There are some people who are agoraphobic. They can't go out.
mm,
And the challenging is that this is common among young people, teenagers now, because like I said, the brain is not fully developed until you are 26 or 27 ish. The brain, and there's a lot of stress now, online stress, drugs, and all manner of things that young people get involved in, which affects them. Some of them to escape from the domestic violence from home. They just
mm.
want to chill out with friends, and these friends are bad people. You know, and then have negative impact in their life, and they put a lot of pressure on an evolving brain. That's not, even where we come from. You see, somebody may behave as a teenager. By the time they're 27, 28, 29, they begin to act better. It's because the brain, processes information better at that age. When somebody is 18, 19, 20, even 21, and majority of university students, majority of people, young professionals are still at that lower age, end of them, under 25. So the brain is still evolving. So, and like I said also earlier, being a blank slate, it's whether you pour on it that stays there. It takes only one trauma to bring it off, one stress to bring it on. Discrimination is another thing. The
Okay,
trauma,
so we are seeing another point. We've seen depression, we've seen traumatic events, we've seen just explain
self harm.
self-harm now.
Yeah.
So you are coming up with a fourth possibility, which is discrimination.
Yeah, because it linked all this. Because discrimination, or yeah, in whatever form, impacts on your personality or who you are. If you look at all the protective factors under Equality Act 2010, religion, if you are discriminated because of your religion, if you are, or your race, because of who you are, or your accent, the way you talk,
Mm,
and children face this in school, in workplaces, everywhere. They
mm,
begin to look at themselves. They begin to be depressed. It's traumatic for them. Some, if they cannot manage it well, they begin to self harm. So, because discrimination is key to,
indeed,
to all this, to all
indeed,
this, in whatever form.
it's a
Even
major.
ageism, age,
It
all
could be
of this.
discriminated against age-wise in the place of
Yeah.
employment during
So,
interviews.
for example, a lot of, if you look at the protective factor in terms of race, in terms of gender, in terms of what's
Color,
it called? Yeah, color. That's
yeah,
race, gender.
intimidation.
In terms of sexuality, in terms of your religion, your faith, in terms of many other things. And so people have there's what they call intersectionality,
Mm,
which means let's say you are black, you are 70 ageism, so race based on being a black, you are 70, and you're a woman, because the UK where we live is noted to be white male dominated society. Are you getting the point? So women are still discriminated against, black people are still discriminated against, women are still discriminated against, people with disabilities are still discriminated against,
mm,
people based on their sexuality and religion and other things. So if you then and there are people who combine that, do they then call it intersectionality? That is not just one area, and all those things bring massive improvement. A lot of older people are depressed
mm,
because of the way society treats them, as if they don't have anything to offer again, whereas they have wisdom, they have experience
mm,
to offer. A lot of them also reflect on the way they've lived their lives
mm,
to look at, have I mistakes they've made, they begin to look, oh, why did I do this? I should have done this better. There are a lot of them, they've done something good, some things good to people, they've helped people who have abandoned them, who are not reciprocating those good things onto them.
mm,
And so just because of our age, a lot of women, a lot of young people, ladies are depressed. because of the way
Society treats them.
society treats them, or even men treats them, all the male chauvinism against them, raping them, sexual attacks against them, and unable to prove those things, that makes them feel bad even more. Treating them as objects, sexual objects and other things. A lot of them. And don't forget, especially for ladies and women, they go through a lot. A lot. The hormonal changes during their
Yeah,
menstrual
it's another
cycle,
fact.
and if there are all those trauma, it brings all those things up again. Or when they are becoming 50, in their 50s, when they're menopause, the
Menopause.
symptoms, menopausal symptoms that come with that. Not to talk of pregnancies, and the place of work don't take into consideration those things in terms of things. And so there is a whole lot that come together, you know, to impact that. Uh,
Wow, wow, this is deep. This is much. So when we see put all this together, the causal effect, the consequences, oftentimes what those who are back at home listening to us ask us is want to hear from us is how they can receive help. So in terms of receiving help or respite or a way out of their pains or their difficulties, provided they realize that they have such a need. Because that's where healing starts from, actually. The
mm,
moment they realize that there is any such.
excuse me. Yeah.
So, in terms of help, what should we be looking at? Information providing and providing information in the line of help that these individuals that find themselves in one or more of these four things at the very least, out of several other
Mm,
possibilities that we have discussed now on this show.
yeah. So what I've been trying to do is to bring my own identity as a mental health worker, or
Okay,
also my
yeah.
identity
I
as a
mean,
Christian
hands on, yeah.
community leader to it is, in terms of mental health, for example, in terms of help, it depends on the cause of the problem.
Okay,
If it's a medical problem, see your GP who refers you to mental professionals.
the
Either
consultant.
they consult if it's a community mental health team, if it's acute mental health, or psychological therapies, in terms of cognitive, that's what they call cognitive behavior therapy, which makes you think in a different perspective to how you are feeling, and looking at things. There is dialectical behavior therapy, DBT. Those who have had a trauma in their childhood, sexually abused and other things, they will have like a group work, emotional regulation pathway, they call it, so that they can work together to look into that. The GP that's why it's general practitioner. It's so there are also spiritual things. Meditation, they talk about spiritual thing, to meditate, to look at thinking through from the Christian perspective, pray as a Christian to do. But I wouldn't say you should not take your medication. You have to, if the GP says you should take medication, whatever thing, or other therapies that can help. There's also social perspective to it. That's what they call psycho education about it. Family therapies, working, looking at the families. How can the family support? Like I mentioned, the husband or the
So,
wife
so,
that
so if you zero in on that, uh, is this
psycho
so,
education, psycho.
psychoeducation,
So
psychosocial
they,
education?
they,
Can
they
you
call
say
it
it?
biopsychosocial,
Okay, so
biological, which is because they all have different reasons for
a family
developing mental
background.
problems. So bio means to a medical doctor, to medicine, mental problems was caused because of chemical imbalance in the brain,
The
blood
brain.
flow in the brain that flows to, I think you're hearing voices, or you're by the belief is medication that releases dopamine or serotonin to the brain more to feel good, to feel happy. That medication too comes to good love, or sex, when you um so all those things also come to that. So to so bio psychology, you do about behavior therapy, the therapist, psychological psychotherapy that supports you. Then there is social, which is okay, get this person a good job. It could be not having a job that's causing a problem. It could
Mm.
be not having a house that's causing a
Or
problem.
friends.
It could be not having being socially isolated. That is a
Mm.
problem. It could be not having enough money, finances. There's a
Yes.
problem. So
Could even be the issue
biopsychosocial
of their legal
relationships, yeah, immigration issue,
immigration
legal thing. So,
matters.
but yeah. So anybody that's been sectioned or that section 3, which is for treatment of the mental health from ill health, under the law, though, there is the duty on the part of the government to support, as long as they need that, they have that need to support them to get accommodation, to get food and money for them in this country, whether they are illegal
Legal.
immigrant or not. Yeah. So thank God for a good government who supports in that. So that the cause of the problems determine the solution of the problem, but the combination, the synergy of it together does help. Activities, go for activities, games, exercises, all those things do help, in helping out. Because when you exercise a lot, you develop some chemical balances, things that releases to the brain too when you exercise a lot. When you interact with people, you realize that mental health problem is more rampant in a closed society. Unfortunately, somebody said, I think that was a research that says UK is the second most miserable country
Indeed.
on because
Indeed.
everybody keeps with themselves. Neighbors, where I come from, because you cannot detach yourself from your
Oh
identity and
no.
see the reality where I
You're
come
not
from.
you're not
It's more
allowed to
communal.
isolate yourself. Yeah. Your
There's
business is everybody's
communal
business.
living. You're happy, of course. There may be lack of statistics there, or also the fact that yeah, people hide things. But generally, people are happy. Almost every Saturday, there are parties, there are functions that make people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but where you are just on your own, you can begin
Mm.
to overanalyze, overthink about things.
Yes.
When you don't have friends, when you have like all those things. So it's the problem that determines what's the solution. But go to your GP if it's medical, and
So
for
visit your GP, speak to friends, familiarize yourself. Do not isolate yourself as much as possible. Everyone listening to us on this show, and we will be bringing this show to a close today. It's been very, very educative, sir, and we really appreciate Mr. Joe. Uh, I'm not sure whether we can have you again very in the near future because there's so much you still want to tell us, but we just have to make room for another show now. Thank you very much,
thank you.
everyone who has been
Pleasure.
connecting, everyone who has been following us. On a final note, sir, do you want to say something as we round off now?
So, because the link is domestic violence and possibly developmental mental problems leading to depression, trauma, and self harm. So, partners should deal with each other, one another, with knowledge, care, affection, compassion. That will
Knowledge,
prevent.
care, affection, compassion will reduce the rate at which we experience
Uh,
um,
and that
violence.
will happen
Thank you
through
very
love.
much.
Mm.
Thank you, sir. We
Thank
look
you.
forward
God
to
bless
having
you.
you again. Everyone following me on this show, this is where we bring this show to an end today. So we thank you very much. And please be your neighbor's keeper. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.
Okay.